Stampede Go-Round is brought to you in part by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. And by Teakum. If it's teak, it's got to be Teakum.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight marks the close of another successful Calgary Stampede. Unfortunately for the Alberta Chinooks, the World Cup Team Rodeo final this afternoon was a bit of a wipeout as Northwest Volcanoes won their second straight team championship at the Stampede, beating the Chinooks handily 34-21. Later in the afternoon, there were some popular wins in the CPRA-PRCA finals, like Harley Hook of Kamloops, BC, winning steer wrestling, and defending Canadian bareback champion Jim Dunne of Balzac taking the bareback championship. Tonight, what a wind-up for the chuck wagon racing. In the seventh heat, a new track record at the Stampede for Buddy Bensmiller of Dewberry, who then, as an outrider, helped a virtual rookie, Bruce Craig, also of Dewberry, win that $20,000 winner-take-all showdown heat in the final race. And it was also announced tonight by Stampede President Don Cross that the Northern Chuck Wagon Association would supply the rigs for another 3 years here at the Stampede. So that's quite a feather in the cap of the Northern Chuck Wagon Association. Let's go to the Team Rodeo final this afternoon and see how it got started, so one-sided, in favor of the Northwest. The Volcanoes jump into a quick lead in ladies barrel racing. The first two out, Diane Krause of Skiff for Alberta in red. As you see, she can't get her horse out of the box. Meanwhile, Jarita Noble is on her way. Noble, wearing the yellow of the Northwest Volcanoes, headed for 16 and 8. Krause wandered off course and was forced to take a no time. 2 points for Jarita Noble of Hermiston, Oregon, and the Northwest is away and winging. Debbie Reynolds against Suzanne Randall. Randall from Calgary. Reynolds from Ephrata, Washington, was 16 and 3 and took another 2 points. Randall had a qualified run but was second best, 18 and 1 for a single. In the third matchup, it was also won by the Northwest Gwinnett Dale over Lola Shaboya. And in the final run, Bonnie Dingerville of Hillcrest is against Polly Hansen, the gal who won it all last year on her Appaloosa when the final match went to a tiebreaker. It was not anything that close this year. Polly Hansen headed for a 16 flat. That's the best this year. Another 2 points. Dingerville was 16 and 6, and the Northwest got away to a lightning start, taking ladies barrel racing 8-3. It was a split, 6-6 in the next event, a bareback, as Alberta Chinooks made an effort to come back. This is George Cook from Vaughan, Montana, competing for the Alberta Chinooks. He marks a 69 on the Stampede horse Waskesiu Tango. A couple of points for Alberta at this stage, making the score 8-5, and the Chinooks' hopes were lifted. Dan Majerus from Conrad, Montana, marked a 71 on the Franklin horse Lone Wolf here. That was the second best ride of the afternoon in Team Bareback. The best mark was a 74 for Pat Price of the Northwest. He is from Port Orchard, Washington. And he had the black gelding Smokin' Joe. Real good bronc. A 74 on the horse named for the former heavyweight boxing champion Smokin' Joe Frazier. So saddle bronc, or bareback I should say, was split down the middle, 6-6. It was 14-9 after bareback. Actually, in the events, they took 2 apiece, and another 2 were tied, but in the events where they had an advantage, it was a distinct advantage for the Northwest, while the 2 that Alberta took were only a slight edge for the Chinooks. 14-9 after bareback, and then the Northwest Volcanoes really put it out of reach in calf roping. They swept calf roping, as we see now. The first dual run has Len Thurman of Coaldale against Casey Cox of Pendleton. Thurman takes a no time. He misses his loop. Cox, who had a 12 and 2 earlier, is headed for 12 and 3 here, and the route was on. Brian Dudley from Raymond also misses. He's against Pat Miner from Ellensburg, Washington. Another good, quick time for Miner of the Northwest, he's 11-3 for 2 more points, and the score mounts. Jack Purchase in the yellow shirt for the Northwest against Bob Wilson, the Alberta team captain, and that's a rare miss for Wilson. Purchase is 17-3, and it was 22-9 for the Northwest after calf roping. Hard to believe because the Chinooks really do have some good, consistent calf ropers, but they just couldn't find the range today, and the Northwest took calf roping 8-0. The route was on from this point on as we went from calf roping to saddle bronc. Saddle bronc was won by Alberta. The Chinooks didn't quit, at least. This is Gary Millen of the Northwest. He is from Powell Butte, Oregon. He scored a 69 on the sorrel gelding Sunset Joe. Calgary Velvet next out with Gary Brune of Port Orchard aboard. And Brune and Calgary Velvet combined for 76. We'll also see this in slow motion. Brune shared the top saddle bronc mark of the afternoon with Lane Berry, who we'll see momentarily. Brune had Calgary Velvet and Berry Mighty Velvet. The judges in the riding events again this afternoon were Larry Smith of Fort St. John and Leo Brown of Czar. They watched a good performance here by Gary Brune of the Northwest. The Chinooks battled back, taking saddle bronc. They didn't give up, at least. This is Lane Berry, the good saddle bronc and bull rider from Hanna. He also gets a 76 on Mighty Velvet. We'll be able to see this one in slow motion as well. Berry has had a good stampede, riding bulls and saddle broncs for the Alberta Chinooks. And even today, he was consistent, but it wasn't enough, as Alberta really suffered in the timed events. And if anything, that's where the Chinooks were expected to hold their own with the Northwest. The Volcanoes always seem to be tough in the saddle bronc and bareback events. Saddle bronc went 7-5 to Alberta, and after this event, it was 27-16 for Northwest. And the comeback for Alberta was just too little and too late. It was also short-lived after they hit steer wrestling, because the Northwest went to work there, taking the dogging event, as we'll see right now, by an edge of 7-3. Joe Trotz of Coleman, a no time for Alberta. And on the Northwest side, Dwayne Simmons of Fossil, Oregon, 7 flat. Rod Hostetler is from Asotin, Washington. He was 6'4 plus 5. And Dave Hofer of Raymond did get a couple of points for Alberta. He was 5'9 plus 5. Team captain against team captain here. Both did a good job, but Sid Britt was a little quicker, 5-8 compared to Bob Wilson's 6-7. So the edge in steer wrestling went 7-3 to the Northwest, and it was 34-19 for the Volcanoes over Alberta, going to the Bulls. No hope for the Chinooks to come back at that point. It was a rough afternoon for the bull riders on both sides. As we see in this film footage, we'll show you some of the bull riders that came down. This is Cliff Webley off the Winton Express. Gets hung up momentarily. Kelly Lacoste gets in there to help him out. On the Alberta side, Dale Vine of Medicine Hat is bucked down by Army Camp, and he's not at all pleased about it. This is Gary Brewer representing the Northwest, and he had the Bull of the Year, Hager, but he needn't feel too bad. Not many stay aboard Hager. That's LeVar Weinbarger. First time he's been dumped off a bull at the Stampede. He was 15 for 16. And this is Nestor Johnson of Bow Island. He's bucked off by Canadian Class. Some good bull riders bit the dust this afternoon. There was only one qualified ride, and we'll take a look at that right now in regular and slow motion. Lane Berry again. We saw him just a few seconds ago with a 76 in saddle bronc. Here he marks a 70 on the bull Dead End. Dead End is a Weatherly bull, big country bull, and Berry stayed aboard and was marked 70. Bull riding went 2-0 to Alberta, but it was all over long before that. 34-21, the final score. And the World Cup for a second straight year has gone to the Northwest Volcanoes. They take the team jackpot of $23,000. And there wasn't much doubting the outcome of the final or the semifinal involving Northwest. For that matter, Volcanoes beat the Badlands by 10 points in their semi and wiped out Alberta 34-21 today. And while we look at that final score, we'll run through the individual winners, event winners in team competition. North American Barrel Racing, the individual winner, Kim Gress of the Badlands Rough Riders. Pat Price of the Northwest Volcanoes is the bareback winner. Calf roping went to Sparky Trotter of BC. And the other winners in saddle bronc, Gary Brune of the Northwest, steer wrestling winner, Captain Sid Britt of the Volcanoes. And again from the Northwest, the bull riding individual winner is LeVar Weinbarger. That's the story on the team matchup. We'll be back to look at yesterday's junior winners after this. Last night we gave you the junior winners in boys steer riding, bareback, and junior saddle bronc. Tonight we can show you those winning rides, and we go first of all to the boys steer riding. First out is Richard Bish. Bish marks 66 here in the final. That gives him a total of 199, and it's good for the second spot. Richard Bish is from Calgary. He had earlier marks of 68, 65, 66 yesterday, and we'll be able to see it in slow motion. It gives him a total of 199 and good for second place. We talked to this young man, I believe it was opening day at the Stampede. He's a game little guy. Look at him grit his teeth as he hangs in there. These young fellows can use two hands, but they are the bull riders of tomorrow, and you'll find a lot of familiar names, sons of well-known dads in this. Richard Bish, I mentioned, is a tough little guy. He got his mouth smashed up by a steer a while back, but he's right back to take second at the Stampede. Second, he was to John Allstadt of Caroline. John headed for a 62 yesterday. That gave him a total of 203 on 3, and he wins it by just 4 points. In slow motion, this young man spurs out a 62. Earlier, he was 72 and 69, shared the first go with Kerry Hudson and Greg Herman of Medicine Hat. John Allstadt, 72 in the first go, marks of 69, 62 after that for 203, and he's your boys steer riding champion of the 81 Stampede. Our next stop is junior bareback, and the first man out will be Bill Boyd of Olds. Boyd won this event at Rodeo Royal this spring. He marked 59 here on Trader Vic yesterday, and that gave him a total of 185. That was good for second in junior bareback. This is the winner, Clint Corey from Holbow, Washington. He marks 71 and had a total of 205 to take first in the junior bareback event. Not much doubt about Corey being the winner of that event. He won both the first and second go, and then took it all with that final ride of 71. To saddle bronc, and this is Gordon McKee from Kinsella. His dad, Mac, was the Saskatchewan team captain in the World Cup draw here this year. He marks 65, and that gives him a total of 184. That's good for second spot. And the winner of junior saddle bronc is this young man from Markerville, Guy Shapku. It wasn't long ago that he was riding steers. He marks 64 yesterday on bluegrass, and it's good for a 198 total and first place in junior saddle bronc. He had identical 67s earlier, was 134 on 2 coming in, and the 64 was enough to swing it for him. He wins it by quite a margin, actually, over Gordon McKee. Guy Shapka finishing off his ride on bluegrass, and he is the junior saddle bronc champion of the 1981 Calgary Exhibition and Stampede. As we look at these young winners, we remind you that they are the saddle bronc, bareback champs, and bull riding stars of tomorrow. Congratulations to all of them. John Allstadt, by the way, who won the boys steer riding, is the son of Ed, who has been driving a chuck wagon at this year's Stampede. That's the story on the junior winners, and we'll be back with CPRA Rodeo after this break. The top 10 or top 10 and ties qualified for the major event finals of CPRA Rodeo at the Stampede this year. We'll look at the bareback finals from the afternoon, leading it off with a 5-time world champion in this event, Alexander the Great. Joe Alexander, formerly of Cora, Wyoming, now of Marysville, California. He marked a 76 on Tanya Tucker, finished up with a total of 217. But it wasn't enough. Bob Logue had a 72 here on Hobema Jack. That gave him a total of 221. Logue, fourth in the world from Greeley, Colorado, had a 72 on Hobema Jack. And this is the champion, Canadian champ Jim Dunne of Balzac, combining with Moon Rocket, bareback superstar, for a 73 and a total of 225. What a matchup. What a draw for Dunne to be leading by a couple of points going to the short go, the finals, and to draw Moon Rocket. He's first in the Canadian standings and the defending bareback champion. Moon Rocket, back in 76, was a triple winner, the Stampede Bareback Horse of the Year, also Canadian Bareback Horse of the Year, and the top bareback horse in the world. And another honor for the Stampede's Moon Rocket, again, bareback horse of this Calgary Stampede. That's the story in bareback, a popular win for Jim Dunne. Now we go to calf roping, where the win went to the United States. But we show you first off Joe Lucas. Lucas is from Sundre. He is seventh in the Canadian standings, was 14-6 today, finishes up with a total of 42-1. Bill Parker of Billings, Montana, was 13-3 this afternoon. That gave him a total of 41-9, but still well back of the winner, who you'll see momentarily. Good quick tie on the ground for Parker as he finishes off 13-3. Then a former world champion and Stampede champion from Durant, Oklahoma, Roy Cooper, with an 11-3 in a cloud of dust. Look at that for a quick tie. Here we'll see it in slow motion. The 11-3 in the finals gave it to Cooper, although he trailed Dean Woodard of Miles City, Montana, coming to the short go. 11-3, giving Cooper a total of 36-3, and he was followed by Woodard. But Woodard, like two other ropers this afternoon, had problems, had to go to a second loop, and it gave Woodard 21-6 and placed him well back with a total of 46-3. Roy Cooper, former world champion and a former winner here at the Stampede, takes the calf roping championship back south again. Saddle Bronc also went to the United States, and we'll take a look at the best rides of the afternoon and the rides that decided it. First out is Bobby Brown, formerly of Adrian, Texas, and he now calls Mustang, Oklahoma home. He's on Guilty Cat, and Guilty Cat, by the way, was named a Saddle Bronc of the Stampede. They combined for 77 and gave Brown a total of 219. You'll see this in slow motion. This is one of the premier Saddle Bronc riders in the world today. And you can watch for his patented dismount. He just leaps out of the saddle at the completion of the ride and gets down on the ground long before the pickup men move in. Good performance by man and animal, Bobby Brown, on Guilty Cat, which was named Saddle Bronc of the Stampede. This is Chuck Fratsky. He also finished up at 219 with a 73 this afternoon in the final, a 73 on the big Sarcy Sorrel, a former Saddle Bronc of the year. This is your winner, Butch Knowles. Knowles is from Heppner, Oregon. What a draw he had for the finals. He was the leader going in with a total of 150, giving him a 4-point edge going to the finals, and he combined with Transport, the legendary Bernie Franklin Saddle Bronc, for a 74, a total of 224, and Knowles is Saddle Bronc champion of the 1981 Stampede. Transport is the same horse on which Doug Vold scored a 95 at the Meadow Lake Stampede, highest recorded. Butch Knowles and Transport, a 74 and a 224 total for Knowles. He's the Saddle Bronc winner this year at the Stampede. Steer wrestling stayed in Canada. Of the major events, 3 titles went to the United States and a couple stayed here. We showed you Jimmy Dunne winning bareback, and in a moment we'll see Harley Hook taking steer wrestling. But first, Dennis G. with a 5 flat. That gave him a total of 16-8. and we'll see it in slow motion as well. G is from Woodstock, Texas. He was 11-8 coming to the finals today, and knocks his steer down in 5 flat to finish with 16-8. Next to go is Byron Walker. He's just first in the world, that's all. He's from Ennis, Texas. He was 5-2 today for a total of 16-2. But here's your champion, Harley Hook of Kamloops, BC. Took him a while to get to a steer, but when he got there, he made up for lost time. He had a 6 flat, was 10-2 coming in, so won it with a total of 16 flat. And I might add that Harley Hook, the reigning calf roping champion of Canada from Kamloops, BC, not only won steer wrestling, but he is the all-around champion of the 1981 Stampede that was announced in front of the grandstand tonight. Bull riding also went to the United States, and we'll show you the rides that decided it. First of all, Geordie Thompson from Black Diamond. Thompson, 4th in the Canadian bull riding standings, has the Weatherly Bull Homer, the legendary Homer. They combined for a 79. Little wave of the hat to a big crowd this afternoon. Geordie Thompson, colorful Geordie. We'll see his ride in slow motion. A good mark, 79 to go with 141 he had coming in, and he wound up with a total of 220. Good performance by Thompson. He's in control pretty well all the way on the spinner, Homer. That put him 7 back of the eventual winner. Next out is a Texas bull rider. Geordie almost got in a storm there at the last second, too, with Homer, who sends the clowns scattering. Allison, Texas bull rider, Monty Taylor. He had that showy Bernie Franklin bull called Elk, and they combined for a 77 here. Good spinner. Reverses, goes back to the left, and Taylor stayed right there for 77. On Elk, he finished at 222. Here's your champion, Lee Newman from Weatherford, Texas, with another Franklin bull, Charles Manson. They combined for 81, and we'll also see that excellent bull ride in slow motion. Newman was 146 coming in, and the 81 gave him a total of 227. Brian Abley, 5th in the Canadian standings from Jenner, was in position to win it. He was first going to the short go with a total of 150, just a 2-point edge, but he was bucked off by Wilfred. And this ride by Newman, an 81 on Charles Manson, gave him a 227 total and the bull riding championship at the 81 Stampede. By the way, that bull that you just saw, Newman aboard, Charles Manson is also bull of the 81 Stampede. So let's take a look at our major event winners now. 2 of them are from Canada and 3 from the United States. And I might add to this list the Wild Buffalo Ride, won by Tyrone McGillis. Wild Cow Milking champion is Bill Nugent of Water Valley. And the Wild Horse Race was won by Trevor Helmig. As I mentioned earlier, Harley Hook is the all-around champion of the show. He wins the half-ton and the CFCN Television Bronze Trophy, and a popular Bobby Del Vecchio, the bull rider from the Bronx, was named winner of the Guy Wiedek Award. And that's the story on the rodeo this afternoon. We're back for a look at chuck wagon racing after this. It was an exciting night for fans watching the chuck wagon finals. It was announced by Stampede President Donald Cross during the evening that the rigs from the Northern Chuck Wagon Association, who have run here the last 3 years, will be back for another 3 years. The majority of them, at least in next year's Stampede, will be from the Northern Association, with some additions by invitation. But that's quite a gratifying announcement, I would think, for the Northern Chuck Wagon Association. About the time there was speculation that the other drivers from the World Professional Chuck Wagon Association would be back. And that's not to say some of them won't be, because there are still some spots left open to invitation. We had a record time in the 7th, a track record in the 7th, and we had that big showdown heat for 20,000 in the 8th. But let's go back, first of all, to another very good heat tonight, the 5th, when there were only a couple of seconds in penalty time. The fifth heat.
Stoves are all loaded in. We got all the 10 poles in. Yes, sir. Okay, fellas, let's get out, and it's a good, clean start. Where do we go? Prudential Steel, Leonard Corporation, Scrap City, 3 abreast. And then the Lone Star outfit right in behind, and away go our Outriders. Barrels are all up, few cowboy hats left behind, and away they go. Down the backstretch, in the middle of the track. It's going to be Prudential Steel on the lead, barely, with Roy Bremner. In along the rail now, you got Leonard Corporation, Brian Labu, Kane just inching his way ahead. G.H. Leonard outfit by about a nose. Prudential Steel on the outside. There's Scrap City and Lone Star, third and fourth, and they're both charging in behind the 2 leaders. You're going to have a race round the turn and up the quarter pole. And it's still G.R. Leonard's outfit with Brian Labu, Kane holding the rein. Prudential Steel just on the outside of him. Now along the rail comes Max Volk and the Lone Star Canvas. Scrap City Scrap Metal just on the outside of the him. The 4 wagons and down the lane, and here they come. It's going to be a great finish. Anybody's race. G.R. Leonard by about a quarter of a length. The Leonard Canvas and Brian Labu Kane. Prudential Steel right alongside. Max Volk on the inside, third, and Scrap City Scrap Metal. Good wagon race. Well done.
That's Joe Carberry, track announcer at the Stampede. He's called the chuck wagon races for years and years, and we'll hear from him doing the 6th momentarily. You might have assumed by now that this is not exactly a young man's game, this chuck wagon driving. For example, in this 6th heat, we've got Ray Croto of Bonneville, 53 years of age, driving for Wimpy Western of Calgary. We've got 47-year-old Ed Alstad of Caroline for Penny Agriplex of Hobima. And another youngster on the 4 barrels for Ken Sprouse, Distributors of Calgary, Dick Dye of Loon Lake. He's only 73 years of age. He's been driving for 33 years. I'm not sure what Edgar Baptiste was doing in this heat. He's only 24, a kid of 24 driving for Elkwater Ranches. Here's Heat 6 with Joe.
Stoves are all loaded in. The 10 poles are in. And now we come cutting the barrels, and Wimpy Western looking good off. Number 1 out on front. Monty Agriplex out there, second. Ken Sprouse, third. The Elkwater Ranch, fourth. And away go the Outriders. Another good cut of the barrels. A clean race, and away they go. Wimpy Western on that front end after that great cut of the number 1 barrel. Ray Croucho on the lead by about a length and a half. Monty Agriplex with Eddie Alstad right in behind. Now there's the move by the Elkwater Ranch. Edgar Baptiste, after a slow start off the barrels for him, he's flying down the backstretch. He is now third, and he's challenging for second. Ken Sprouse's outfit with Dick Dye. He has to go way top of the track, losing a lot of valuable ground, but moving well. Wimpy Western holding the lead. Ray Cronto still up by about a length and a half. Monty Agriplex in along the rail with Eddie Alstad, and Edgar Baptiste now coming right alongside of him. Then Ken Sprouse and Dick Dye, a colorful sight now as we got 32 horses and 4 wagons charging for the finish line. With the Wimpy Western outfit and Ray Cronto. Wimpy Western, Ray Cronto, he's looking over his shoulder. He wants those black-shirted Outriders. Here he is across the finish line. Then Monty Agriplex, the Elkwater Ranch, and the Ken Sprouse outfit.
Well, we had quite a heat in the 7th tonight. The track record here at the Stampede has stood for several years. It was 1:15 and 99, recorded by Ward Willard of Vulcan. But that record was eclipsed tonight by Buddy Bensmiller of Dewberry, the young man who won the 79 Chuck Wagon Championship at the Stampede. Buddy Bensmiller was driving for Marlboro Datsun. His new time is 1:15 and 48, and that's worth looking at. Here's Joe.
There's the horn. They're off. Good start. Stoves all in. 10 poles in. Yes, they are. Outriders make their mounts. Barbara Datsun, Buddy Bensmiller, Wilswell Servicing, Alan Bensmiller, Keith Construction, Orville Strandquist, and Wendell Arisman, and away they go, flying into the first turn. The race is on. The champion of 2 years ago in the Barbara Datsun outfit, the young Buddy Bensmiller on the front end. Here comes Keith Construction in along the rail. However, Orville Strandquist now going wheel to wheel with Will Swell servicing and the senior Mr. Bensmiller. Wendell Arisman is not out of it yet. He's fourth, but he's flying and he's got a lot of speed. Barbara Datson, Buddy Bensmiller on the lead. Alan Bensmiller and Orville Strandquist continue to go head and head for second and third. Wheel to wheel they are. And there's Wendell Arisman on the extreme outside of the track. Are the Outriders, are they closing in? Yes, they are. Here we come with Buddy Bensmiller on the lead. Buddy and the Barbara Datson outfit after that great cut of the number 3 barrel, leading the pack down the lane, heading for the finish line. Buddy Bensmiller finishing off a great night. Looking over his shoulder for the Outriders. Clean cut winner, Barbara Datson, Buddy Bensmiller, Orville Strandquist, Keith Construction, Will Swell servicing, and Aerosmith Brothers. Good wagon race.
A new track record, 1:15 and 48 for Marlboro Datson and Buddy Bensmiller of Dewberry. Needless to say, that was the quickest running time of the night. Then we went to the showdown heat, winner take all in the $20,000 eighth heat tonight. It was a big night for those Marwayne Dewberry boys. Buddy Bensmiller just set the track record, then came scrambling back in behind the chutes to grab a horse, and he went out as an outrider for Bruce Craig of Dewberry in the eighth heat. Craig drove for Century 21 and, as we'll see, won it all. They drew on stage for the barrel positions, and Alan Smith of Elk Point, driving for Brasso Datson, had the first choice, the first draw that is, and he drew 4 barrels out of the hat. Then Bruce Craig, or then Herman Flatt of Bodo, got the second barrels, and Craig drew and got 1. That naturally left the number 3 barrels to Ivor Bolin for Cowley and Keith. Here's the big showdown race.
And they're off. The championship is on the line. Stones are all in. 10 poles are in. They're flying off the barrels. Brasso Datson, Cowley and Keith. Century 21's got the rail. Burns meets racing fourth into the number 1 turn. Round the turn we go. Century 21, Bruce Craig. There's Cowley and Keith in the middle of the track, and he is a flying. Ivor Bolin now with a very slight lead. Century 21, Bruce Craig on the rail now coming back. Brasso Datson, Alan Smith on the outside. Third by 3/4. Burns meets with Herman Flatt as fourth and flying in between wagons. Cowley and Keith, Century 21. They're wheel to wheel in the turn. Century 21 on the outside. Century 21 on the rail. Cowley and Keith on the outside. They're head and head. Burns meets with Herman Flatt as third. Brasso Datson is fourth. Century 21 on the rail. Century 21 coming now. Cowley and Keith and Ivor Bolin. What a duel we've got. It's Century 21, but Bruce Craig by a half. Century 21 by a quarter. Century 21. Cowley and Keith is second. Burns is third. Brasso is fourth across the finish line. What a championship race.
Joe Carberry with the 8th and championship race, and it's quite a story for Bruce Craig of Dewberry. He came in here last year as a replacement driver. He's really only in his second year of driving, and he wins it all. I asked him after the race if he had his choice, would he have taken the number 1 barrels? He said no. Like some of the other drivers, he's not fussy about the 1 barrels because you have to run up against that wall, against the bleachers in the infield. But he got number 1 and made it work, winning it all. Congratulations to Bruce Craig of Dewberry and his outriders, Sheldon Ray, Alan McMillan, Randy Evans, and Buddy Bensmiller. Congratulations to all of this year's Stampede champions. We'll see you next year on the Go-Round.
Stampede Go-Round has been brought to you in part by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. And by Teakum. If it's teak, it's got to be Teakum.